Welcome to the video on my MIVO400 SMBC connection to Man3000 TMS. I'll be using a blue dongle from Man3000. We are starting at a point where your MIVO400 SMBC controller is already configured and waiting for the Man3000 connection to go ahead. And also the Man3000 is already installed and licensed, and what we are going to do Man3000 is to configure it the PABX format so that it can receive CDR or SMDR records from the MIVO400 controller and then process them into reports. So we begin by logging into our SMBC controller. And then we go to charges, general, and we are going to scroll all the way to core logging. Now, for us to enable SMDR on the controller, we go to service active. As you can see right now, the service is off, and then we are going to enable it for outgoing and incoming. Obviously, this is up to you according to your installation, whether the customer wants to see records for outgoing calls only, or for incoming calls only, or for both incoming and outgoing. But for the sake of being standard, we are just going to go with outgoing plus incoming calls. So that means the customer is interested in calls both ways, incoming and outgoing calls. So for that reason, we are going to select this. And then here it's asking for the IP address or a host name for the PC where we have installed our Man3000 software. So we are going to put the IP address of the computer that is holding our Man3000 software. Well, this is our Man3000 software, but in this demonstration, our Man3000 is installed on the computer that I am using to log on to the controller for configuration. So the first thing that I need to do is to check my IP address for the computer that I've installed my Man3000 on. So I'm just checking now. So the computer that has my Man3000 has this IP address 192.168.1.60. This is very important, so I'll take note of that IP address, and this is the IP address that I'm going to go and enter here on the controller, 192.168.1.60. The next thing is the TCP port, which is our SMDR port. When we are on the Mitel 3300, this port is by default 1752, but on the SMBC controller by default it is 1080.1080. So for the sake of being standard, so that we only have one port to remember, because when you are a technician in the field there and you work on different systems, sometimes it becomes a hassle for you to understand this controller, what port does it use. So for that sake, I'm just going to change this SMDR port to match the port for the 3300, which is 1752. But note that this is optional. You can still work with the default port 1080 that the SMBC controller gives you. So it's up to you as a technician whether you want to accept the default or you want to change it to 1752. But in my case, I'm changing this to 1752. After we make those changes, we scroll up again, and then very important to note is this digit barrier if buffer is full. So what happens is that by default it will be on bad, it will be on 1. So what this means is that if our Man3000 is not collecting SMDR data from this controller is an internal buffer which keeps the core records while it's waiting for the Man3000 to come and collect. But at some point, this internal buffer is going to fill up. Once the internal buffer fills up, the controller is going to take the action that we have defined here. And when we say bad, it means the action that the controller is going to take is to bar all the extensions from making outgoing calls. So at a time when the buffer fills up, all the extensions will be barred and they will not be able to make outgoing calls. So as a technician, you are supposed to sit down with the customer and make a decision what action you would like the controller to take in the event that Man3000 is not collecting data and the internal buffer for the controller fills up. So normally we go for the average. It's just a middle standpoint. We'll say, okay, if the buffer fills up, let's just allow people to make maybe national calls only without making cell phone calls. So we come here, we change to Botswana and no cell, and then we apply. So just to digress, just to come and show you where the internal buffer shows up. You can see here, this is the state of the internal buffer, call logging records in buffer. At the moment, it is 0 records and the buffer is green, which means at this point, the controller is assigning the users to their permission sets, their respective permission sets. It has not taken any action until such a time when the buffer fills up. Now at this point, we'll cross over to our Man3000 software now. This is our Man3000 software. I'll just maximize it. Then we log in as an administrator. And then we go to settings. We'll go to our PABX format 1. And we'll go to advanced. Okay, let's do these formats after we make a call. For now, let's just connect. Let's just tell this Man3000 where it should go and get its call records from. So we say we go to PABX connection here, and then we say passive TCP, and then we enter that port that we defined on the SMBC controller, which is 1752. We'll come and enter it here. By default, after you just install your Man3000, it will be empty here. There will be nothing like this. So you come and put your 1752 in case you have changed your controller to 1752 or 1080 if you had kept 1080, which is the default on the controller. But because we changed to 1752, I'm going to put 1752 here and we save. Waiting for PABX login. So what this does is that on the SMBC controller, we put the IP address of the PC, which is 192.168.1.60. So the controller is going to look for that IP address, which is 192.168.1.60. Then it opens a TCP connection to port 1752. So at this point, I can make a call to test and see if we get any raw data coming into Man3000. Okay, let us continue. After making the call, I've got 2 records coming in. I'll just quickly make another call again. I'll make another call again so that we've got a few records to test with. One final call. Okay, so I've made that last call. So we'll close. The next thing that we are going to do our PABX formats, but before we go to the PABX formats, I want to show you a very important setting that I need you to keep on your Man3000. We go to comport settings, we go to advanced, we make sure that we tick save all telephone calls to telomere error. We make sure that it is ticked, and then we untick create extension numbers. We don't want it to auto create extension numbers. We also don't want it to auto create account codes. This is optional, we can leave auto create exchange lines, we can leave it there, then we close. But the 2 most important things that I need to take note is that you must tick save all telephone calls to telomere error file, and must also make sure that exchange lines is ticked. Now we go back to do our PABX format. We are going to do PABX format number 1, which we are going to do for outgoing calls. So we go to wizard. These are our call records that we have made. I'll go to this one, number dialed. Let's look for the number that I dialed here. Okay, let's take a simpler one. Where I dialed this number 3636466. So I'll move my markup position to go there. Right up to where my number starts. Yes, I'll leave the select the length of the dialed number. I'll leave it at 20. And the next thing is the exchange line. Now I'm not sure what the exchange line is here, but I can just pick this one to represent the exchange line. I will just move it up to here. Extension number used, I used the extension 400. Take note that this 400 is not the physical extension. The physical extension that I was calling from was extension number 200, but this 400 is the virtual extension number which represents the user who the pin code that was used is assigned to. I'll go back to the controller to show you so that it's clear on your mind, so that you can really visualize it. So I'll move my marker to that 400. Meter pulse, we don't need. Account code, we don't need. Time of call, we need it. This call was done at 12:02 at the time of recording. And what kind of time format is it? It's hour, minute, like that. And our date of call, 25/01/21. Our date of call is this one. Year, month, date. Our duration of call is 00 hours, 00 minute, and 08 seconds. Let's look for the correct match. No, that doesn't match. One, two, three. So this is the duration of call. Then we outgoing test. We just test for any number in the outgoing, in the number dialed field. You just select the test for outgoing. You just test for anything that appears there, and then we save. And this is our PBX format. After we're done, we close and close. I'll make another call. Okay, the records are coming through. So now we go to edit extension info. We can see here our calls are coming from extension 400, the user which is being represented by the extension 400. So we say 400. Okay, the name of our user, maybe it's the receptionist, and we save and we close. So we do our reports by going there and do extension detail report. We select our dates, we view, and this is the report. Now we go back to our PBX, where I can show you where this 400 is coming from. So our user is this user 400, and this is the 400 that is appearing in the core records, and the actual pin number that the user is using is stored in this pin section. So there is a video on a separate video on how to do pin codes. The main function of this video is to show you the connection between the SMB controller and the Man3000, how to get the controller sending the core records to the Man3000, and how to make the Man3000 receive the core records, and how to do the PBX formats so that you can generate a report. So that is all for now. If you meet any challenges on Man3000 side, please feel free to call the Man3000 technical support and they will help you out. Thank you so much and enjoy your day. Cheers. Goodbye.